Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. When I decided to come to this conference, I was not expecting to present anything because I just consider myself a user and I wanted to stay on the fringe, but it's obvious now that the community needs a lot of help. So, spontaneous order. You saw my post last night, I couldn't sleep. I just had to get it out. This is my journey from being a farmer and discovering a final solution for ERP, and then deciding to become a programmer as well so we could contribute to the code. So basically, this is the first part of my journey. And you know, I start with, it's not showing right, but I start with the, you know, I'm from Guatemala. In Guatemala we have, you know, volcanoes erupting all the time. It's the land of the Maya. And you can see some of our farms there on the right, which we were discussing with Ravi earlier. They're not big farms. There are some big farms, but most of the country also has these small farm operations. So agriculture is a big part of our economic output. I had the privilege of studying at Cal Poly in California, where technology was used everywhere. So this is why, you know, I learned a little bit of programming when I was studying there. I learned a lot about future technological trends. And then, you know, I returned home after 5 years to work for the family business. So, you know, sugarcane, bananas, and the first few years were great. And as time was passing, it became evident that data sharing would be a complicated matter, especially in farming. You know, there's a lot of information that you need to handle. So it's okay to fill data in the field with a sheet of paper, but once you digitize the data, the whole point is to be able to analyze it on the fly and make a decision. So, you know, this is a standard record form that I have with my current business. Everything goes on paper. I'm sure you're all familiar with this, and it's perfectly fine. You know, you're in the field, you're wet, you know, you just need to write stuff down. But in the end, what we farmers look for is some sort of model like this, where you can see patterns in a clear manner. This is a Six Sigma Shukart graph that I did for predicting a specific data set. So when I tried to convince the staff that I worked with at my previous job, I wanted to integrate this into the current ERP solution. And of course, this was impossible. The main problem was licensing. The programmers told us that they had licensing issues between themselves. And so for 6 years, we had no improvements in the ERP software that we had. At the very least, I was able to, you know, because we used to, this sheet of paper here, every day it was a report. It was entered in an Excel computer, printed, sent via fax to the local office, and then somebody entered the data again. You can imagine that that's a lot of wasted time. So per year, I installed, I did some costing, and it turned out to be $23,000 in savings just by setting up remote networking before the time that cell phone data was widely available. So in the end, you know, I continued working, hoping to find a solution. My fiancé encouraged me to get a master's, so I studied at UFM University. I've spoken to you guys a little bit about this. One of the main things you learn there are, you know, what Mrs. Anna Hayek said, that the unintended consequences that result from attempts at a top-down control of such complex, spontaneous orders, emphasis, as our businesses and markets. It's very complicated to try to coordinate everything. But they're not the first ones who said that. Master Zhuangzi from China said, good order results spontaneously when things are let alone. So how, you know, how do you move ahead, you know, when you have trouble, you're not communicating, you're having trouble with your company? So I quit my job. I couldn't do it because the ERP software was not working. We were all beginning to fight amongst each other. So I decided to set up a new business, hydroponics. It took me 6 months to get going after I quit. I was very afraid. And I thought I only wanted to get away from the stress and the conflict of the other job. But I knew very little that, you know, I would be getting into a bigger thing. So anyway, you know, we start the business. Everything starts running well. You know, I hope that 236 restaurants that were in the area where I was operating were going to be buying my produce. And as of last week, 331 restaurants. So, you know, was I going to be successful? Was this going to work? And obviously it has. But the only issue that remained in my head is when the time to move from the startup Excels would come, which ERP software would I get? So I would need, you know, to get a lot of data to make decisions. So of course, this is, you know, chaos, persistence, order from chaos, chaos from order afterwards, and some meditations and an interesting blog post that I found. So of course, chaos. You know, we get eruptions all the time. So when you get eruptions, you get ash on top of your greenhouses. You have to clean up. People get evacuated. We had some troubles with the production, some pests. Everything was very disorganized when we were beginning to deliver. But you know, with time, we persisted, and by the end of the first 6 months, we had already, you know, tried crowdfunding. We had gotten evicted from the previous property. We rented a new place, transferred to the new place, and created new products. We got robbed 5 times. Guatemala crime is occasionally it can be a big problem. So we persisted in the face of great odds, and you know, we got some order from chaos. You know, the products started looking better. We improved our packaging, and customers were beginning to ask for products. So at this point, you know, everybody was happy, but you know, it became painfully obvious again that you know, we would no longer be able to operate with just Dropbox and Excel. We needed to centralize information, but also distribute it so that the people making the decisions could handle whatever we were doing. So chaos again. And at this point, you know, I just went on a meditative retreat in Guatemala South Coast, and you know, I started searching for answers. What would we do to enhance the data gathering? I started searching for open source ERP softwares. I found things like Nucash and OpenBravo. I found out about OpenERP as well, and then over the, you know, I even checked Odoo, but I was kind of put off by the fact that I would be marrying into this. It didn't feel right. So anyway, we continued, and after a month of testing, I stumbled upon a search. I stumbled upon this post by Rushab, which, you know, showed the roadmap, and roadmap has been a key word today in all the discussions and throughout the conference. I was hooked immediately. Just like Achilles, you know, and his drawings of the guy just going, you know, getting impressed. I felt like this. So it gave me exactly what I needed. It wasn't an average ERP or solution. So I basically began to learn how to implement it. I did the trial, but then I figured, you know, I need to set up a server. So I learned how to self-install in a week. And within 2 weeks, I was already learning Python so that I could learn to modify some of these things. So it, you know, just the fact that we were able to implement it quickly helped us regain, you know, customers and suppliers and all the organization that we needed. It was amazing the amount of extra time that I got. So obviously I started dedicating this to figuring out how to improve it. So I started posting many questions in the Discuss forums, and gradually but persistently it came to a point where, you know, people were very encouraging. Rushab last year mentioned the bazaar and the cathedral. So in Guatemala, you know, we have a lot of similar things as in India. You know, you get to the big marketplaces, and it's always a lot of fun. You kind of try to realize how people are coordinating, and they do. So, you know, I saw GitHub, and it seemed very familiar to me because everybody's posting their ideas and their issues, and there's a way to track how you're changing things. So I figured that I would join the bazaar and share my input for core enhancement and software development. So, you know, it has been relatively easy for me after learning a little bit of coding to learn how to enhance it, and to be in contact with people like Nabin and Rushab as well at the forum. So the sense of accomplishment that you get when you finally solve your own problem, because it was evident at that point already that, you know, they were overwhelmed. I mean, 1,000 or more issues on GitHub, and all these discussion posts were just too much. So at this point, I've hired somebody locally to help me do some of the modifications that I need just because of time. I need to run one business, and I also need to start this up as well. But I've already set a roadmap of all the applications that we want to set. So I hope that we can collaborate together with you guys. This is what I was hoping to do, and it has been fantastic to meet most and all of you that are also developing as well. Because I started as a user, and now I've decided to become an implementer and a collaborator as well, to give back so that the ideas that we can put forth work together. So on the left, I have one of the first applications that we already released on GitHub. It's obviously a very localized application dealing with electronic invoicing. And on the right is an application that I'm beginning to program for core functionality regarding financial reporting and generated economic value aspects. And of course, there's ERPNext, which I'm already participating with. We're discussing some things with Ravi as well about how to improve it. And of course, time and resources. We need a lot of time and resources, and obviously there's a lot of frustration because what are you going to dedicate your time to? You're going to do this or you're going to do that. And I think the guys here need help from all of us in the community as users, so that we can contribute code, even if we don't know coding, hire somebody so that we can begin to contribute code back and make this really the best ERP solution ever. So my hope is that by 2020, all these modules are either at a version 1 or above, and businesses can just go ahead and start using it. And to my surprise today, Rushab mentioned the ERPNext desktop, and I think that's one of the ways that it's going to help improve the profile of ERPNext. So I'm really happy because I was foreseeing something for 2020, and I think 2018 it's a much faster pace to be able to get all these applications out, merged into the core, and provide the functionality that most of our users are going to want to be having. And of course, for me and my business as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for giving me the chance to talk.